the real estate is a hard asset. It's going to be there, right? So even if, 5 years down the road it doesn't work out, you're right. We can repurpose that and just rent it out to another medical tenant, and I have income. And it's not like, oh, my business failed, so now, I don't have anything. You have something, right? And it frees up time. And oftentimes, depending on how many properties you can get to, you get to a number that can actually replace your salaries too sometimes. So I've seen a lot of people do it, a lot of physicians and doctors, and, go from 1 door to 2 doors to 3 doors to multifamily to 100 doors. Like, it's crazy, the opportunity, and it just starts with the first one, right? And even on your first home, your personal property, like it starts there actually. Any property that you can buy, that just gets your foot in the door and building equity, and then you can go to the next one and the next one.
And seeing it as the long game.
Yeah, it's the long game, for sure. So in the short game, it helps too, because to be honest, when you're a doctor, you're a professional, you have multiple businesses, you meet this threshold where, your income is taxed so highly, right? So having real estate, it really helps tax savings wise and depreciating that, and all the costs that go into maintaining it as well are write-offs as well. So that helps. And then of course that long-term equity that it's building, that comes with time, but there's a lot of short-term benefits for sure.
Welcome to today's Heart of the Hustle. I am here with Dr. Gill, who is here to talk about Dr. Realtors. You may have seen him on a previous episode where he was here talking about Zenith Chiropractic, but we're here to talk about his second business, which is really, really interesting. Dr. Realtors. Dr. Gill, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Dr. Realtors.
Yes. So Dr. Realtors, we help really doctors and other professionals buy, sell, and invest in real estate, and also really just educate them and consult them on real estate and how to create wealth without necessarily putting more time in, and create a legacy that's lifelong. Yeah.
Do you do mostly commercial or residential?
We do both. And really why we opened this company is me and my wife, we've done it all, from investing to having our own, purchasing our first home, to even getting real estate with our own businesses, even partnering on deals, building out spaces. Like, we've gotten a ton of experience doing this and learning along the way. So we help others not do it the wrong way. And, there's good things in real estate and some bad things that you can avoid. But if you have me as a licensed real estate agent, not only finding the property, but consulting you on what to look for and how to avoid those pitfalls.
Because I have to imagine it's very specific for doctors in particular what they need out of a location.
Yes, absolutely. So when it comes to both residential and commercial, doctors' needs are very different. So when it comes to the commercial space, depending on what type of doctor is, like my wife's a dentist and they need, air, gas, all plumbing, all this kind of stuff. So, second generation spaces are best rather than a ground up build out. So, on the other end, some doctors need sinks in each room, or, specific requirements of the size of the space, or trying to be strategic. And we've even helped people sublease space so they're not committed long term in these long 5, 10, 15-year leases. But negotiating all of that to fit that doctor's specific needs. Every single person is different, on aesthetics to needs to the best options. Yeah.
And how did you start doing this? Because I know you're a serial entrepreneur, and so is your wife. So tell us a little bit about what your other businesses, and then how this one started.
Yeah, so that's a great question. When it started, I would say it first started when I was like 14 or 15. My parents, they moved here. They don't speak the best English, and I found myself taking care of everything when it comes to bills, all that kind of stuff, and even real estate. So we were actually moving out of our house in Carrollton. That's where I was born and raised. And we were going to put it off for rent. So when I was like, I think it was like when I was 15 or 16, yeah, that's when we were doing it. And we did it for sale by owner. We were like, forget this, agent thing. Oh, we can just do it. We can just put it on Craigslist and put it online and we can do it, right? I didn't know. I really didn't know the value of an agent. I do now. And I was like, man, if I would have just done that back then, I would have came up up on top. But, we had, squatter situation, didn't pay rent for a year. So unfortunately we had to sell that house. But, navigating all those challenges of what could go wrong, we learned it. So it started when I was 16. And, as I grew older, I always had a passion for real estate, just in general, whether it's dealing with contractors. I know most people hate that, but, I enjoy it, working out deals and helping people find the best deal and working on projects and getting it to their needs. Yeah.
So when did you add real estate onto the chiropractic business? Or was that before?
So actually, my father-in-law, he's the one that when we opened our businesses, he motivated us. He pushed us. He was like, hey, you got to open your own thing. You got to stop, working here or working there. You're not building, a long-term thing for yourself. So he purchased the building in Hearst where we had our first practice. So in 2017, he did purchase that building, and I've been maintaining it since. And that's its whole, I would say, podcast of things that could go wrong scenario. But, just owning real estate and, things that come with it, with roof, HVAC, all those issues, remodeling, all that kind of stuff, I was able to manage and was super thankful for that experience. And it's still an experience till this day. And then, from ground one, from the remodeling stage to the initial investment and how to really work it strategically where you're not putting too much in, like if you're leasing it, and working out, TI allowances and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes even free rent. If you're starting your new business, it's tough in the beginning. So negotiating those types of things is what I've done. And we've, that was the first real estate and purchase, but, we've leased spaces as well. And now we're partnering from the ground up development. So from remodeling spaces to leasing to even, building from the ground up and whatever fits that person's need, we help them find the strategic partners.
So what do you recommend when someone's opening up a business, to build or to buy, or is it such an individual decision?
That's a great question. I would honestly suggest in the beginning, maybe lease. Most businesses fail. 75%, I would say, fail within the first 5 years, if not 10 years. So that's a statistic. And, when it comes to that, you want to reduce liability. So leasing it in the beginning to get a proof of concept and lower risk is probably what I would recommend. But when it comes to owning your own building and all that kind of stuff, you're never going to lose. Even if you start today, the best time to start is today. A lot of people have analysis paralysis. This is not a good time. The interest rates are high, all these excuses. But, on the other side of the spectrum, 5 years later, they're like, well, I should have done it. I should have done it then. Why didn't I do it sooner? And that's, something I teach as well. So if you have the means, of course, buying is always best, because leasing is, putting money into something that's not really yours, to be honest. But if you're opening a new business, sometimes the finances aren't there. So getting a proof of concept and even bank loans, we have, like I said, strategic partners that help. Doctors, have things like 0% down for these deals because they know that it's not likely that they're going to default. So they're more favorable to medical providers and things like that. So a lot of people don't know. They just think, oh, how am I going to do a 20% down payment on this multi-million-dollar building, right? It seems not achievable, but we help people achieve that sooner rather than later.
I have a client who's a real estate investor, and he says that all the time, like, I won't even open a business unless I know I can own the building.
Yeah.
He knows that it's an asset that's going to stay with you long term. Even if the business itself fails, you still have the space that you can repurpose into something else, right?
Exactly.
And then those, you use the rent from that one to buy the next one, to buy the next one, to buy the next one, right?
Yeah, 100%. And me and my wife both, we're in operational businesses, and operational businesses, when it comes to it, it's tough. It's a grind. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of sweat, equity, and emotion involved in it. But the real estate is a hard asset. It's going to be there, right? So even if 5 years down the road it doesn't work out, you're right. We can repurpose that and just rent it out to another medical tenant, and I have income. And it's not like, oh, my business failed, so now I don't have anything. You have something, right? And it frees up time. And oftentimes, depending on how many properties you can get to, you get to a number that can actually replace your salaries too sometimes. So I've seen a lot of people do it, a lot of physicians and doctors, and go from one door to 2 doors to 3 doors to multifamily to 100 doors. Like, Like it's crazy, the opportunity, and it just starts with the first one, right? And even on your first home, your personal property, like it starts there actually. Any property that you can buy, that just gets your foot in the door and building equity, and then you can go to the next one and the next one.
And seeing it as the long game.
Yeah, it's the long game for sure. For sure. So in the short game, it helps too, because to be honest, when you're a doctor, you're a professional, you have multiple businesses, you meet this threshold where, your income is taxed so highly, right? So having real estate, it really helps tax savings wise and depreciating that, and all the costs that go into maintaining it as well are write-offs as well. So that helps. And then of course that long-term equity that it's building, that comes with time, but there's a lot of short-term benefits for sure.
What do you think some of the most common misconceptions are for someone who's opening a medical office, right? New doctor, you've been in this spot, right? You just came out of chiropractic school, or your wife just came out of dental school, and you're like, okay, I know I want to hang my own shingle, right? Is that the term?
Yeah.
You get what I mean.
I get what you mean.
I want to have my own business. What are some of the common misconceptions that you think people have?
So a lot of when it comes to opening their own business, I don't know if it's a misconception, but it's fear, right? Because when it is opening and having brick and mortar, it's signing a 5-year lease. It's a commitment, right? So, or even purchasing, it is a commitment. So common misconceptions is, I'm going to fail. Like, what do I do? If it doesn't work out, 9 times out of 10, if you're committed and you do sign that lease or you do purchase that building, you're going to find out a way to make it work. So, that the fear is a big one, that once people get over that hurdle, they're successful. So that's one of the things that I do see. The other myth is it's not the right time. I think we talked about that. Whether it's having kids or opening up business or, owning real estate, the right time is now, honestly. And you can come up with a laundry list of reasons why right now is not the time, whether it's recession, interest rates, income, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think there's two sides. One is it's never the right time, and then it's always the right time.
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like the glass half empty or is the glass half full?
Mindset.
It's
Yeah.
mindset, right? Is that this is the time to do it. Why not? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why not now?
Yeah, why not now? That's the real question you have to ask yourself. So, yeah, it's been a great journey so far, and I'm excited to keep building on it and keep helping others. Really, that's really what I want to do. Not only as a agent finding the property, of course, on the residential side, oftentimes you can't get into these properties, right? Or somebody's living there, so that's how a agent comes in and helps for sure. But as we go through and as we navigate the property, it's not just opening the door. It's just like figuring out what that person needs, what their likes are, aesthetic wise, room wise, features, all that kind of stuff is just so unique to each person, and every single person is different. So when it comes to the consulting side, as an agent, you're supposed to not, put in your feelings and emotions and, tell them how you think you would want it. But I just help them reduce risk is what I typically do, and just give them my experience, my story, and my mindset behind it. But don't like to push one way or another, really, when it comes to what's going to fit that person's custom needs. I try to stay, away from that. Yeah.
So now you run this business with your wife, Dr. Sarah Mahmood, who's also been on the show. So check out her episode. How do you guys work together on this business? How did it start? Did you start doing it? Did she kind of join in? Tell us how you guys work together.
She was the brains behind it. So she started it. She actually got her license first. Yeah. And man, when it comes to doing, she just gets it done, right? So it was the pandemic, everything shut down. She was like, what do I do with my hands? And she was like, okay, I'll just do the online real estate course and learn, because what we know is every one of the successful people that we know are mentors, they've had real estate, or, whether it's the sole thing or the side thing, a diversification of their, net worth. That's been a piece of it. So we always wanted to do that more long-term anyway. Of course, dentistry, chiropractic, that's our day-to-day 8 to 5. Like that's where our souls are right now currently, but we're thinking long-term too, and diversification. So, 10, 20 years down the road, when we want to hang our hat or, step out of the business a little bit, that will help us do that, right? If we invest in it now.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about real estate is that you can hand it down, right? You can't, maybe one of your kids will become chiropractor or a dentist and they'll want to take over the business, but
Yeah.
who knows, right? Those chances are slim, but real estate you can hand down.
You can hand it down. Yeah, that's right. So, another short-term thing and benefit is cash flow too. Some people don't know that, it's an investment, and if you can get something that has dividends immediately and has cash flow, like a, single family home that you can, buy at a discount, fix it up and rent it out. You can, pull your money out by getting a bank loan, or, just keep getting that cash flow in and go to the next project. So there's so many different strategies. There's so many unique things that people can do. It depends on, how much time they have, or if they want to be hands off. There's strategies on that. As long as you have the money, there's partnership opportunities, there's syndications that you can invest into and be hands off and get those returns.
What's a real estate syndication?
A real estate syndication, it's really popular right now in the multifamily state. And, a lot of people are investing, say you want to invest, anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 or even more. You can put that into a syndication. And it's typically, you have general partners that manage the property and all the fixing up and the value adding of that property. But the limited partners, they're the ones that just invest money and wait for them to either sell it or have, a cash out refinance or something like that where they get their money back, plus some as far as the rate of return goes and what the expected is based on the market conditions.
And are you able to help people? Do you know those syndicates and able to help kind of connect people with those?
Yeah. And Sarah and I have invested in syndications as well. And we've seen it where, you can fail too. So making sure you're going with the right syndication, the right partners that are actually going to do the work and manage the property, it's important because you could lose, right? A lot of people invested, when rates were low and you were getting like the 2020 to 2023 and insurance rates were low, taxes were low, all of that. But, come around now, all of that has doubled. So then there's no cash flow. And then, there's defaults happening right now on a lot of multifamily properties where they weren't managed correctly, or this wasn't expected, or even the bank interest rate, it wasn't locked in. And now, $80,000 mortgage is turned into a $160,000 mortgage a month. And the cash flow that was expected is not there anymore. Insurance rates have doubled with all the, natural disasters that are going on and all that kind of stuff. So there's so many different factors and so many things to learn from. I mean, we could be here all day talking about it. But yeah, we have different options for different people that want to really diversify their portfolio, get into real estate or REITs and things like that. Yeah.
One of the things that I know you and I both live this life of two entrepreneur families, right? My husband and I are both entrepreneurs. I know you and Sarah are as well. So what do you recommend for people who are in that situation? I know sometimes it can be a real challenge to buy real estate because so much of our money goes through the business, right? And isn't necessarily our money in the same way it is when you work for corporate America. And so what are some of the strategies you utilize to help people in those situations?
Yeah, that's a great point. So you can always use other people's money. So the bank, so if you have, good income or, even if you have a W-2 or you're a business owner, you can use that income or whatever your assets are to then invest in these properties and only put a percentage down. Or if it's like a second home or something like that, there's strategic ways that you don't have to put so much money down and you can get a home, and there's different loan programs out there as well.
Yeah, I think it's all about finding the right realtor and finding the right realtor who knows the right partners, right? The right mortgage partners who know how to specialize in people who have, who are just 1099 or, LLC business owners.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you go to like a Chase or a Bank of America, they're not going to understand that. They're just going to look at the bottom line. But if you go to the smaller banks that we have partnerships with, they understand that. They're like, okay, we get this. This person owns a business. They're trying to save on taxes. So the income is, that the money that's in the business versus, what they pay themselves and expenses and write-offs and all that kind of stuff come into play, right?
Yeah. What do you say to people who are like, oh, the interest rates are so high, I can't possibly buy something now?
You can just refinance when it come down. So if you're going to wait a year for the rates to come down, why not just get it now and to get a good deal? And then you can refinance later. It's not going to, it's not the whole term of a 20 or 30-year note that you're going to be paying that same interest rate. It's going to fluctuate. So you can always refinance.
I'm so grateful that I refinanced my place. I bought it, I think, in 2018, and then I refinanced in, I guess, 2020 when the interest rates really went low. So it's like 3, I think I looked the other.
So you got a good deal in 2018 with the prices, and then you got a good
deal,
interest rate.
I got a great interest rate later. It was great. Yeah, now I'm like, okay, I'm never going to move.
Honestly, that's what it feels like for most people. Me and my wife were just, house shopping, and it's just like, it doesn't make sense. Our payment would be triple what it is now. So for a house that's just, 500 square foot bigger. So it has to be the right time, of course, but, the best time is now, but it just depends on what kind of property you're looking for. Your own home is kind of not the best investment. I would say it's, the other properties that you're going to invest in and all that. And, whether you're fixing, flipping, we've done some of that too. Currently, I have a property under contract. We can flip it or we can rent it out. It's just specific on what your needs are. Do you want to, pull your money out and put it to the next property? Do you want to rent it out and build long-term wealth? Do you want to get to a certain number of doors so you can quit your day job? It's person to person. Yeah.
So what do you see as some of the trends that are happening in the real estate market? We're in Dallas in the DFW area, and I know you work with clients everywhere, but what do you see as some of the trends that are happening here, both in commercial and residential?
So on the residential side, the trends I'm seeing is right now you can get some killer deals. So because the interest rates are high, the market is a little slower. So when it comes to negotiating right now, I'm the master negotiator. So I'm getting like not only all closing costs paid by the seller, I'm getting, new roofs, thousands of dollars off the asking price, because if it's sitting on the market for more than 60 days, I know I'm going to go in there and negotiate and we're going to get a killer deal on this. So it doesn't matter how the interest rate is. I'm going to get you so much savings now so you can just refinance later. So there's some good deals coming out now, especially with all the times right now where, the stock market is, down and there's a lot of fear out there. That's when the deals happen, right? So it's a good time to buy right now. Yeah, on the residential side. The commercial side, what I'm seeing is we haven't corrected, especially in the office space sector of commercial real estate. So that is something I say, stay away from still, because there's so many high rises and, office building spaces that haven't corrected since the pandemic. People are still working from home or using, flex spaces to office out of because it can get expensive. But other than that, if it's your own business, you should do it ASAP, if you have that opportunity, take it.
So, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that the time is now if you want to invest in real estate, and whether you're trying to, get out of your day-to-day grind, whether you're trying to get a property that cash flows, whether you have some extra money and you're trying to diversify, or build that legacy long-term, which real estate is the best for it. So the time is now if you, need any help. That's what I love. I love helping people and I'm passionate about it. And I would love to, help you get started.
Awesome. So where can people find you?
So if you want to contact me and show me or tell me or text me what you're looking for, that's the best way. And you can just text my personal number, 469-236-2132, or you can follow us at Dr. DOCTORS.realtors is our Instagram handle. So you can follow us on there. I always post all our stuff there, and probably this podcast will be on there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you have the cutest kids. So hopefully there's some pictures of the kids.
Yes.
Your beautiful wife.
Yes, there is.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.